Now for our featured story of the day. Bitcoin can hit $337,000 this cycle, according to on-chain analyst Willy Woo. In fact, this is his upper bound target. So let's break this baby down. Let's start with the actual tweet he recently shared. Bitcoin at 71,000 puts us here, as you can see in the chart, in visual of the upper and lower bound models. Upper bound right now is $337,000. So this bull market is still early, equivalent to 20,000 of the last cycle. Last cycle didn't hit the upper bound due to the flood of the paper Bitcoin, referring to futures, aka derivatives, aka financial weapons of mass destruction. This is less dominant this cycle. Amen to that. We finally got the spot ETF approved, so it's not just futures we're dealing with anymore. So yeah, shout out to Willy Woo. Now, Bitcoin breached, as you know, this morning, 73,000, hitting yet another all-time high. Let's go. And despite Bitcoin surpassing 73,000 this morning, the bull cycle is just starting, according to Woo's price model, which is based on a composite of various metrics set to gauge investor behavior. Here's what he wrote on the 11th, which was yesterday, which I just shared with you. Ultimately, the upper bound right now range is $337,000. I also pointed out in yesterday's podcast, if you didn't watch it, be sure to check it out. But Max Kaiser, the high priest, he also upped his higher range target to 750,000 for this cycle peak. Now, furthermore, the Bitcoin macro index broke the upper blue band this week, which signals we are in a full fundamentals driven bull market, as Woo noted, sharing this chart you can see here on your screen. Now, meanwhile, the current bull market dynamics might result in an earlier macro top compared to the previous cycles, according to Rec Capital, quoting him here. If the accelerated perspective turns out to be true, then the next bull market peak may thus occur in 266 to 315 days. That's December 2024 or February 2025. Now, historically, it's usually like 18 months after the halving, we hit the cycle peak. And one of the factors completely different this time around is for the first time in Bitcoin history, we hit the new all-time high leading into the halving versus after the halving. Previous three cycles, 2012, 2016, and 2020, we always hit the all-time high after the halving. So some would argue that all previous models are destroyed and broken. What's your thoughts on that? Now, we did share this Bitcoin liquid index chart, as you can see here. And we also have Crypto Coin, who expects Bitcoin's 4-year cycle to accelerate by as much as 1 year. And according to this analyst, with Bitcoin entering price discovery mode and new all-time highs a year earlier than usual, we may be witnessing the death of the 4-year cycle. Let me know if you agree with that. Our before perfectly structured cycles would have called for a top late 2025, but we seem to now be right on track for a top late 2024. And according to the Giga Chad, Michael Saylor, he says, expect a 10-year bull run, unprecedented, like we have never seen before. And according to another analyst, Dave the Wave, Bitcoin can rally towards 170,000 by May if the bullish momentum continues. Now, keeping in fact, right now we're March, so he's ultimately saying in 2 months we can go as high as 170,000. Send it. Now, such as the weekly moving average convergence divergence, we know is the MACD. Traders often use this to assess the potential entry and exit points. This anonymous analyst wrote the following: if the nascent parabola were to continue into a full-blown parabola, an argument for nearly $170,000 in May. Let's freaking go. Let me know if you can feel it or see that target coming into fruition. However, these price targets are becoming modest in the current bull market in comparison to Cathie Wood, who said on March 7th that ARK Invest's long-term Bitcoin price target is well above $1 million. That's right. They're now projecting $2.4 billion per Bitcoin. Quoting them here, that target, it was before the SEC gave us the green light. And I think that was a major milestone. And it has pulled forward the timeline, according to Cathie Wood, referring to the regulatory approval of the spot Bitcoin ETFs in the United States. So there you have it. Are you on the mind thinking here that all the previous models are broken and Bitcoin this year, new cycle, can't be defined from the previous cycles? Or do you think we're likely to hit the cycle peak yet again in the 4-year cyclical cycle the year proceeding, the halving. I'd love to know your thoughts. My personal thoughts. My bear scenario is $222,000 per coin. My bull scenario, I officially raised as of yesterday from $500,000 this cycle peak to $750,000. I'm sticking with the cycles continuing and peaking out for the particular cycle in 2025. I hope to be wrong because I'd rather peak out in 2024, but nonetheless, until we cross that bridge, I'm still a firm believer that we're likely to maintain these 4-year cycles, but I hope I'm wrong. We soon shall see. And also, I mean, there's a lot of bullish targets. We have billionaire investor Tim Draper predicting $250,000 this year. What are your thoughts for the price target as far as this year? How high do you think Bitcoin will run up? Do you think the 4-year cyclical cycles are still intact? Do you think all previous models are broken and we can hit the all-time high this year, as pointed out by Willy Woo, maybe fourth quarter 2024 or as early as February 2025? I'd personally love to know your thoughts. Here's one thing I do know. This bull run is just getting started. As the stock to flow model shows us, it just printed the very first red dot on the stock to flow chart, and that was on March 1st, literally 11 days ago. Stock to flow also got to give credit to Plan B, creator of the Bitcoin stock to flow model, because he called it. He said Bitcoin will never go sub 40,000 ever again. This was back when Bitcoin just crossed $40,000, and he was right. The month of February, we just had the greatest monthly US dollar gain in Bitcoin history, which surpassed roughly $20,000. And just to understand, it took Bitcoin 7 years from the time of the Genesis block in 2009 to 2017, I guess that's 8 years, to achieve a 20,000 Bitcoin price action, which was the previous all-time high 2 cycles ago in 2017 after the 2016 halving. We just achieved a $20,000 surge of the Bitcoin price within 29 days, the shortest month of the year in February. So another $20,000 gain. We're right on the cusp of 100 grand, 6-figure milestone. I mean, that'd take us above $90,000. So you already know it's about to get lit. Stock to flow shows us we can get potentially 8 to 12 more of these bullish red dots over the course of the next couple of years. And what if Michael Saylor is correct? What if we're just on a 10-year tear, just continuing to go up, right? Without any massively significant drawdowns of 80% like we've seen in the previous cycles? What if we just continue to rip 100, 200, 300, 400, $500,000 per coin? And before you know it, we're like, wow, Bitcoin under 1 million was a steal. Remember those days? Remember March 12th when you could have bought a Bitcoin for 70,000? Those days are forever gone. What are your thoughts on that, fam? How high do you think the Bitcoin price is likely to rip this year in 2024? And what do you think the cycle peak will be? And by what year do you think we reach the cycle peak? Holla at your boy in the live chat.